Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We are your hosts, David O.
And Eric V.
Today we are joined by our very special guest, Matt S. How are you doing, man?
Doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are you from, Matt?
I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, in a rural area called Baltimore County, Reisterstown. Yeah. Go Ravens. If they ever play again, you know.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. When were you first introduced to recovery?
I was introduced to recovery through a therapist of mine back in 2012. Should I just go into detail on this? Is that what you're saying? And talk about, it's just like I was seeing an addiction psychiatrist because my addiction took a really dark turn. I just had a lot of issues going on in my life at the time, and I tried switching doctors to a therapist that was certified supposedly in addiction therapy. So I gave him a shot, and charged me $300. He prescribed me all these meds that I was currently taking with other doctor. But the one thing he did tell me was that he had a stepdaughter that had 4 years clean in a program called Narcotics Anonymous.
Cool.
So that's how I was introduced to it. Introduced to the program.
Right. And how long have you been clean?
I got clean on November 15th, 2013.
Awesome, man.
So it's been 6.5 years.
God, time flies, dude. Time flies.
I know. Yeah.
All right.
Crazy.
Well, with all that out of the way, I'm going to turn it over to you to share your story with us. So take it away, man.
All right. Like I said, my name is Matt. I'm an addict, and it's crazy going on in these certain times right now. It's more important than ever to understand that recovery is not only in a meeting, but we have these other ways of connecting to people, like this podcast. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, what else do we have? I can't go to a meeting anymore. I can share a Zoom meeting. That's actually pretty popular nowadays. But what else can I do to help not only me, but other people around the world that listen to this podcast? My story is like many others. The using, the lying, the degradation, it all started at a young age. I'll talk a little bit about my past. I grew up in Baltimore. Great family, never had anything, never wanted anything, never needed anything. I had everything I ever wanted. I was always complacent. I was a happy kid. We lived in a neighborhood. We had the kids. I played outside, did sports, did all that fun stuff. And then, things kind of changed when we ended up moving when I was in fourth grade. New area, new environment, new friends, new house, a lot of change for a kid in fourth grade. I always felt less than because we moved because of the area we were living in was changing slowly from it was just the community was becoming a lot different. I noticed that I didn't understand at the time, but I was the only white kid in my fourth grade class. I didn't think anything of it at the time. These were my friends, I noticed over the years in that middle school that I started becoming, all my friends started moving. And then when I did move, I was like, oh, this is where they're all at. They moved to this area. But my very first addiction started in the fifth grade, around the time that Power Rangers came out. It was I was really big into fantasy. New school, new environment, new friends.
What was your favorite Power Ranger?
What color? Man, Green Ranger and the White Ranger.
Fucking A.
Green for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Anybody
who says anyone who says Billy the Blue Ranger is a total nard, and they suck.
But no, I mean, it literally became my reality because it was easier for me to escape reality, come home every day after school, and focus on that instead of applying myself and like actually making new bonds and new friends and like actually putting in effort, you know. It was easier for me, and I thrived on that for years, a few years in middle school. You know, and as time went on, you know, middle school was just like anything else. I really didn't get into drugs until I got into high school. I was introduced to drinking and smoking weed through my brother and his friends in 8th grade. He was in 11th grade. I was in 8th grade. And every Friday night, his friends would come over. My dad would go out on the weekends, and my mom didn't care, and we'd have crazy parties. And it was easier, like I said, to hang out with his friends because they were in my house. I could connect with them easier. I noticed that I became the brother. Like, that's the younger brother of this guy. Like, you know, people know me now. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I thrived off of that, you know? So going into 9th grade, I kind of it was really hard for me to make connections. Like, I had friends, but like I really didn't have deep social friends, social connections until I got into the 11th grade. So weed became a really big thing for me. Smoking weed every day. I got it from my buddy. You know, tried it the first time, didn't like it. Then I got into, you know, drinking every now and then. But like I really wanted to apply myself in school. But what happened was, as time went on, I just remember I see my brother having fun, and I see him like I see what he's doing. I see he's doing these drugs, he's doing these pills, and I don't blame my brother today. I don't blame him for getting me into this stuff. Like, I made my own choices. But like you know, I took a pill one time. He gave it to me. You know, I think that's how, you know, and I felt good. Before I knew it, like, you know, my father, I didn't know this, but my dad played baseball his whole life, and he was on pain meds. He had a bottle, it's just like Tic Tacs in his glove box full of Percocet. It was very easy for me to go in his glove box and take 5 or 6, you know, every couple of days, and, you know, just to get high. And that's what I did. Before I knew it, I was putting up my nose, and like, you know, and the feelings were all there. Like, that feeling of like escaping reality, that feeling of like nothing is ever going to top this feeling. I thrived on it. So as time went on, like, you know, for me, the drugs are literally chasing that feeling, oh, this is going to be better. This is going to be better. You know, I remember the day in 10th grade, brother came home. He's like, here, try this. I was like, what is it? Oxycontin. I snorted it. Oh, yeah. It wasn't oxy. It turned out to be heroin. And I fell in love. I fell in love with a drug that, you know, I never knew I loved before. You know, I never loved a girl before, so I don't know how I know what love is, you know? But that's what I thought the meaning of life was at that point in my life. The meaning of life at that point when I snorted that pill was I'm going to become a full-time heroin addict. And I didn't know that until a few years later. Because because that's the thing. As an addict, I didn't classify myself as an addict at that point. Because as time went on, and I decided to, I said to myself, like, in the summer of 10th grade, I'm snorting heroin every day. You know, I said to myself, like, I'm going back to school in 11th grade. I need to get off of this stuff. And I did my own little concoction, and it worked. 3.5 months, school started September. I was off of it. I did it. I'm off. But that's where I am an addict, is that a few months went by, I started, you know, smoking weed again, doing my dad's pills again, you know, like doing one more of everything just to get outside of myself, you know, and that's what I did. And like, you know, I blame other people for not getting into the college I wanted to get to, but I didn't apply myself into what I need to do. And that's when, like, you know, my parents were very strict on me because, like, I never communicated with them. Communication is huge in my story. Communicating how I feel, how I act, And it's big today. It's a big part of who I am today, because I couldn't communicate for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I was always scared to stand up for myself. You know, so fucked up my 11th grade year. Senior year was, you know, was all about, you know, applying myself in school, but a little bit too late. Didn't get into the college I wanted to get into. So I decided to, you know, at the end of my senior year, I totaled I got into 5 accidents in my one car.
Wow.
You know, I totaled it my senior year. I got into a really bad head-on collision. Literally almost, I mean, I could have been dead. I mean,
were they all drug related, or are you a shitty driver?
Both. Both. You know, nodding out, trying to snort something, just crossing a double-sided yellow and just not looking, not paying attention. But yeah, I would say they all kind of classify into drugs. I haven't gotten into a car accident in over 9 years. So, you know, 7, 8 years. So, you know, I would say it has a lot to do with the drugs. You know, so, you know, I lost a lot of the trust from my parents at this point. And you know, they understood I was a kid in high school and I was doing stupid shit, but they probably thought, you know, he'll get out of it. He'll stop doing this, you know. He'll be like his brother. He'll be smart, go to college, you know. And like I said, I didn't get into the college I wanted to get into. And, you know, for me, it all came full circle. My senior week, going down the senior week, when I graduated college, you know, my brother gave me 14 bags of dope to take down the senior week. We left on a Friday or Saturday, I believe. You know, and you're there for a week. Come Tuesday, I'm out. And it's really defined me as somebody for a long time, because I'm in a hotel room with some guys that I was close with, and they all saw me ill. They all knew what I was doing. They all saw me at my lowest. And you know, what do you do? What do you say? You're I was just embarrassed and shamed, and of course nobody could get anything when we were down there. And you know, this was the hype of this is 2003, the hype of the OC80s, and they were all nobody can get anything. So I came back to Maryland, you know, early. Senior, I came a couple of days early because I was just I felt like shit. And when I came back, my brother gave me a bag of dope because he had me covered, and you know, and I decided at that point on I was going to work for my father and become a full-time heroin addict. And that's what we did. My brother and I started using together. His disease progressed a little bit further than mine. So he had a little bit more of a habit. And for the next, you know, 3 years we were using. I worked for my father. He had a store that we ran, and of course we were robbing him every day for those 3 years, taking advantage of his business, fixing the books, you know, to support our habit. You know, we were so busy at the store that, you know, we were in charge, and my dad trusted us, and you know, we had to support ourselves, and that's what we did. And you know, every year from 1998 until 2006, he would say, you know, I want to sell it. And finally, 2006 came along, and at the point of my progression of my using was I didn't care if I went downtown and copped dope. It was just bad. I didn't care where I went. I used to be scared to go down there, but you know, getting locked up for overnight in Baltimore City for being down there, or they couldn't find anything that I hid in my car so well, or you know, just being stupid shit. You know, at the point we can keep doing this. He's going to sell this business. What are we going to do? You know, what options do we have? And I mean, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for maintenance programs. I'm grateful for people that are on maintenance. I'm grateful for people that come to the Rooms Narcotics Anonymous that are on Suboxone, that are on methadone, because if it wasn't for those people, I would never have gotten clean myself. my brother and I found this drug called Suboxone in 2006, and we found an outpatient facility in Maryland, and it was so new at the time, not many people have heard about it. But we went to this place and we got tested. And they test you for opiates, and they test you for Valium, and then they say, okay, come back Monday once it's out of your system. So Sunday, then we had this crazy party. We snorted all this dope, got rid of everything, and Monday morning we were sick as a dog, and we had to go up there and took this pill you put under your tongue, and it was by Tuesday, I felt great. I felt great. So I guess what I'm saying is I felt like normal again. And as a couple of months went on, I found a doctor who was able to prescribe me this medicine, pay him money. It's like a transaction. And at the time, it felt like he was helping me. I didn't know at the time that he was basically a drug dealer. The doctor never told me, we're going to wean you off of this in 6 months. He never said, in a couple of years, I want you off of this, no taper. And literally, my disease progressed even worse because a year went by. I started going through his little drug book while I'm there and seeing what other disorders I have. What other things are wrong with me? Oh, I definitely have ADD disorder. Let me look that up. Look up that before he gets in the room, they look in the book and see what I can get. I have trouble focusing. Or the next time I go in there and I say, I have panic disorders and I need some Valium or Xanax. And it just. And like I said, so the doctor never told me to do a taper, and I was on Suboxone for a little over 7 years, the amount of normalcy was there, in that time. I held jobs, didn't get in too many car accidents. I was on this crazy cocktail that when I would do any kind of social interactions or even have conversations with somebody, it's almost like I would hit a brick wall because I was so heavily medicated. But at the same time, I was very good in business. I had my roller coaster ups and downs, and all I needed to be was even. All I needed to be was well, Yeah. So, I will say that, it's in those 7 years, the roller coaster of emotions, of the girlfriends, just all the things that I did to try to be normal, but on the inside, just so spiritually bankrupt. Luckily, in 2008, we were able. I was always good at a few things, and that's work and developing new businesses. And we were able to open a business in 2008, a printing company, which is still open today. And with the help of my brother, he has his path, I have mine. We were able to both figure our shits out and come together, and we still butt heads every now and then. But I love him to death. He's my brother. I'll always be here for him. He'll always be there for me. Even in all the turmoil and chaos, able to build a life, which I'm grateful for. I really am. And so as time went on, just looking at all the things I did to myself and all the women I hurt, along the way, and all the continuous car accidents I got into, and the stealing, the lying when I didn't even need to. It takes a toll on anybody. So I'm going to fast forward. So I'm going to fast forward to 2012. I said in the very beginning that I had a girlfriend in 2008, and she had a heroin addiction, and she put so much chaos, and she sucked the life out of me for about a year, that I just was at my breaking point. But she got help, and she went to a treatment facility in Maryland, came back, and she was like, "You want to go to a meeting?" And I'm like, "What kind of meeting?" And it was an NA meeting. So we went to this AA meeting. Ironically, it was my home group for like 4 years. I didn't know that at the time. But I refused to say I was clean because I was on I refused to acknowledge that I was using because I'm on Suboxone. I've been on Suboxone for like a couple of years. I'm clean. I'm good.
Yeah.
So like, if it wasn't for that first shot of hope, like of realizing, like I remember in my first real meeting I went to, I got a multiple year medallion in 2012, being on Suboxone for 6 years. That's the stigma. It's like, keep coming back. That's what worked for me,
Yeah.
In 2012, I got in trouble with the law. Possession, large amounts of vast medications that weren't properly bottled, medications from another country that were packaged from Pakistan that I was giving to friends, and they thought I was selling it. They had me on all this stuff, all these charges that like were, and so I just had to, know that I could have been facing a couple of years in jail. I went to a facility in 2012 to appease the courts and appease probation, and I was there for 12 days. They gave me a Suboxone taper for 5 days, and I was freaking out on the 6th day. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get off of this shit. Like I was like freaking out. I was so uncomfortable. So I decided to, I came back. My mom, they gave me like 1 milligram on like the 9th day and the 12th day, and my mom came and picked me up. And I decided to tell everybody, and it's time because I was already going to meetings. I already had a sponsor. I already had like a fellowship at the time that I was clean. And like shit kind of weighs on you a little bit. This honesty and like the lying and like
absolutely.
But I was still using, so I didn't feel it at the time. I was living in my parents' basement, and I was just living in misery, and didn't have to live like that. And it took me like 9 months to like actually get honest with somebody about it. But just because you get honest doesn't mean you're willing to take action and do something different. There was a Narcotics Anonymous World Convention in 2012, and I went there with my sponsor in Philly, and with his wife. And, they knew I was still using. They could see it, sitting there with them. And, and we had a pretty good time. I will say that, if it wasn't for that experience, I don't know what I would have done, because I was able to see, so many people in recovery happy. And I just wanted a little bit of that. I just wanted a little bit of that freedom, So, fast forward a little bit. I got honest with my sponsor, but I wasn't ready to get honest with myself. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like, people always say to you, like, you have two directions you can take. You can go left, you can go right. When are you going to go the right way? Some things happened at work, some transgressions of, business, just some things that had to be cleared up. And I thought it was a good opportunity to, kind of like take a look at my life a little bit. I had a friend of mine who got clean in Florida, and she had like 3 years, and she was really bad. She was worse than me. You gotta remember, like, I lived in a house with a brother who was on Suboxone, because we both were using Suboxone, and it was acceptable. My father, I didn't say this, my father, a year later, after we started using it, he was on pills for like 15 years. He got put on Suboxone as well. So it was like this family of socially acceptable maintenance users. And then my mom, who loved her to death at the time, she was a very big enabler. So she just, just she just whatever they said, it's fine. But like I didn't want that anymore. Actually, I was going into a therapist and talking to her, and like, it's just like, when are you ready to take action? Like, when are you ready to do something different? And like, that's what I did. Like, I had nothing holding me back. On October 24th, 2013, my dog passed away. It was just like one of those other catalysts that like kind of left me like saying like, I think it's time to like do something different. As far as going, like I said, I was facing 2 years in jail, and luckily in 2012, I was able to beat the court system and, stand in front of the judge, and I got honest, and I apologized, and I said, I'll go to meetings like a couple times a week, like whatever you want me to do, just let me know. And, so she's like, no, you're not going to go to it. This is what I'm going to do. You're not going to meetings twice a week. You're going to meetings 5 days a week. You're going to get a slip signed, and that's what you're going to do.
Yep.
So that's what I did. And I kept going to meetings, and, kept
power
like,
greater than yourself, huh?
Yeah, man. Because like that's it. That's the hit. I didn't have a car at the time. My insurance the insurance points were so high. Geico kicked me off the policy, so I couldn't do that anymore. So it was like, what can I do now? What can I do to better myself? And like I said, so I was on probation for 18 months, going to meetings. My mom took me to meetings like every day for about a couple months, 4 or 5 months. And the first time I went to a meeting, I raised my hand and said, my name's Matt, I'm an addict. I need help. I'm facing, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm struggling. I need to get clean. Like, I just got honest where I was at. And eventually, I didn't have to get my mom to get me rides to meetings. Eventually, people would call me in the rooms, and they would say, why don't you, hey, I'll come pick you up. We'll go to a meeting. And like that's what I did for a long time. So fast forward, so I was on probation for 18 months. And like I said, my dog passed away, and I met this girl I'd known since high school, and she was clean. Like, I gave this thing a shot, man. I called this treatment facility that she went to, and they were like, hey man, it was a Tuesday, and they were like, you got approved, pack a bag for 5 days, and we'll come pick you up. And like, I was like, whoa, I got to do some stuff first, like I had all these other master plans, but like the reality is I was just more excuses. And, so we scheduled it for a Friday. It was Friday, November 15th, 2013. I still had about 18 days of probation left. So I had to handle that first. So I had to go to my probation officer. He had to give me a letter to leave the state of Maryland. Did that. And once I did that, I got on a plane, man, like for the first time, like, I got to the airport and I was like so scared. I talked to my father for the first time, and like for like, Jesus, I don't know, I talked to him for like a long time on the phone. Never talked to him on the phone before. Like, had an honest conversation. Like, he was so scared that I was leaving, and like leaving the house, and like he was scared for me because like it was change. It was uncomfortable for him, and I get it, but like I had to do this for me. And like, so I did this thing, and I went to Florida, and like, all I can remember is like, getting off the airport, getting in the limo to the shitty fucking broke down Palace treatment facility, and like they took my vitals, and like they asked me questions, and like, I was scared, man. I was really scared. And they told me, like, you're gonna be okay. And I had to have faith, because like I had no friends, no family, no one from the program in this area, no nothing. here to help me. And like, and I just remember that like, I got into my room that first night and I was so scared, dude. I just got on the floor and I prayed to God, please help me. Because I was so scared to get off these meds, man. Like, I was so scared to get off the Suboxone. It didn't work the first time. Why is it going to work the second time, you know? So that's what I did, man. That's what I did. And it sucked. It was uncomfortable. It was scary. It was like, oh man, it was awful. But like, and they kept telling me, like, give it time, give time. I'm like, fuck you. I shouldn't shit. But like, I want to say like maybe, you know, it took about a good, I was on this shit for almost 7 years, dude. Like, I mean, I want to say it took like a good 9 months until I felt better, but like in that moment, like I couldn't even fathom 9 days. You know, I was scared. I wanted to go home for 2 weeks, but I called my sponsor. He told me to stay. Called my friends by the time. They told me to stay. So like, obviously my best thinking was to get leave, so I'm going to stay. And I did, and I went to the next level of the program where my life got a little bit better. Not the feelings on the inside, not the way I felt, but like, you know, it was warm in November. It was like, I never had a time. I never had like a Thanksgiving in sunny Florida. Never. I never really lived with like other men in like in an apartment complex that were like looking out for my best interest. Who wanted the same thing I did. They wanted to get clean and they wanted to better themselves. You know, I thought like, you know, everybody was using, and like that's the preconceptions of like treatment. It's like you go to the next stage and you know, there's like bad people there. But no, it was these preconceived notions that people that were doing the wrong things would tell you. And like things just got better. I learned how to smile again. I learned how to have conversations. I learned how to like have fun. Like you know, and like and I see some like I just see so much like growth in the fact that like, you know, taking a subway, taking a bus just for a job, because like at this point I was there for 5.5 months, but like, you know, 3 months there I was like really ready to like, you know, I wanted to stay and I had to get a job. So I humbled myself and took an MTA bus to a tech support job on the phone every day for about 2.5 months, until I was ready to like come back to reality. You know, 'cause the plan was never to move down there. The plan was to like better myself and then reintegrate into what I was doing prior. You know, I had the sponsor, I had the network, I had the fellowship, I had a home group to start steps over again. Like, it's going to reintegrate that in my life. I got a job opportunity in April of 2014, and I decided to come home. When I went into treatment, I was 229 pounds. And when I left, I was probably like 270 pounds. You know, so I gained a little weight, which is fine. You know, and just started diving in this thing, man. My sponsor picked me up at the airport, took me to my house. I got rid of all the drugs, you know, that I had some probably hiding in my room, you know, and like, it was a Friday night. I came home with my old home group on that Saturday, and just like, you know, just like did this thing, and like really like tried to like live a different life. So, you know, that's where my recovery kind of began, man. It began with the fact that like, keep coming back, you know, keep coming back. It works if you put in the effort. Like, a lot has changed in the past 7 years. You know, relationships, buying houses, growing a business, the coronavirus, and how that affects our everyday life, you know? But like, as long as I stay connected with the men in my fellowship, the men in my close circle, and I'm going to say men and women, you know, because that's the reality is like, you know what, like, you know, I'm good for another day. You know, today, you know, it's not about the drugs. It's not about the, you know, it's not about like going away on a vacation because I can't re-up my Suboxone script for fucking, you know, for 2 weeks. So I can't go to Florida for a couple of days because, you know, my life is so unmanageable. You know, it's not about that. You know, what I've realized is like, you know, what it's about is like filling the void, man. What do we do today to fill the void as an addict in recovery? You know, we were talking about it earlier, Dave, like playing poker. Like, what do we do today as addicts in isolation to stay busy?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've been working out every day, wake up in the morning, do some push-ups. I fucking run my dog. He's a crazy Siberian Husky who's got so many issues. It's not even funny. All he wants is attention. And I'm too busy giving it to my daughter. You know, like it's finding that balance, man. Of what can we do as addicts in isolation? And like learning how to cook. Like I go to work literally like, I don't know, like I go to work for maybe a couple hours a day now, and I come home and then my girlfriend works. You know, we have a 20-month-old daughter. My daughter's 20 months old, and she learned what a tantrum was about 3 weeks ago. And so like there's that. You know, and like, you know, but I love the shit out of her, man. Like she's my life. Like, you know, my family is my life. And like, but like I said, like, what are we doing to fill the void? And like, just to get one more day. But I think we all, you know, I'm going over my, my 8th step on Sunday via Zoom with my sponsor. That's going to be pretty cool. You know, and, you know, just trying to figure out like what it is I can do to like better myself. You know, so I digress. Recovery is a gift. It's a gift that was given to me by other addicts who came before me to teach me how to live. And like, if it wasn't for those addicts who came before me, who knows where I'd be? If there weren't meetings, like, who knows if I'd even be clean right now? I'm scared for the newcomer, honestly. Like, you know, it's really hard for a newcomer just to go on a website to find, I mean, it's not, but at the same time, they get that human interaction with a newcomer to like understand, like, you're welcome, we love you. Like, it's really hard to get that compassion from somebody when they're not in person over a Zoom meeting to say, hey man, listen, like, we love you, we want you to stay, but like, you know, we're on a computer and we're trying to help a newcomer. So like, I don't know if I'd be able to do it right now in this time of age. If I was new in recovery, trying to go to meetings, but like I'm stuck in a recovery house because we're all on lockdown, can't go to meetings. Like, you know, for me, like going to meetings, like I was trying to meet people that were better than me, that had more time than me, that had more experience than me. And like, it's hard to do that when you're stuck in a halfway house or in a facility with people that are either have less time with you or telling you what to do or like on the same level as you. Like, it's hard. It's hard, man. You know, but like I said, like my life is incredible today. You know, besides the crazy dog who I love to death, my daughter, my girlfriend, she's also in recovery. She has she'll be coming on 6 years in September. You know, she's also, you know, I love her to death, you know, and like recovery, man, it's, like I said, I brought it back to that communication because we struggle with that. We struggle with that communication and like, you know, trying to understand one another because we both have different goals and like, and meeting people halfway, but like we both have trauma and we're both trying to navigate that through both our trauma. So that's why it was important for me and her to both get outside help so that we could do this not only for us, but our daughter. So like, cause not only, you can't always share everything in an open meeting, it's not always there. I think I said enough. I'm going to shut up, but thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, man. Definitely have some questions for you.
Sure.
All right. I'll let you finish vaping. No. We learned, like, everybody says that it's recovery is selfish and selfless. Like it's a balance of both. Like we have to get clean for ourselves, but for me personally, like as my journey has continued, like I've found that like I stay clean for other people as well. So how much of your recovery over the last since your girlfriend was pregnant until now, how much of your recovery and staying clean is for your daughter?
Well, I'll break it like this, right? So when my daughter was born, she was born in August 2018. I know that some things happened in 2018 that, like they always say, keep your recovery first ahead of everything. But like for me, like I kind of took a back seat in my recovery, and like she was my priority that first year, because like it's new, it's different. Like, like we don't have, it's like, she's home with the baby. I had to go to work, and then she goes back to work after 3 months, and then we're trying to figure out the schedule, daycare, all these things. Like recovery kind of took a back seat for a little bit. And like, I will say, like, of course, like I will do anything for that little girl. Like, but yeah, like I would say, I want to teach her things that I've learned in recovery over these past 7 years, values and morals and feelings. When I was a little kid, like my dad didn't really talk to me too much about his feelings,
Yeah.
My mom did a little bit, but like, so like I want to teach her that it's okay to like talk about things, So what my dad taught me was you talk back to me, I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to make you shut down. And I don't want her to do that. I don't want her shutting down. So like, it's important, man. Like it's important for me, like to show her these values and morals that I've learned, in recovery. 100%. Yeah, definitely. Very important. So.
Awesome. What you got, Eric?
All right. So I have a few things, but I'm going to start, before I even go into this question, for anyone who's listening, it is April right now. So when you're listening to this, hopefully by that time, COVID-19 will have changed. But you did mention about getting, getting and staying clean in isolation. And I guess, what are you doing right now? You mentioned a little bit like exercising and, keeping your mind busy and working and, your kid and everything. What are you doing right now for your recovery to keep, to keep yourself centered and adjusting to this new, this new normal at the moment?
I will say that my girlfriend and I, she's basically my wife, and whatever. But like, I would say we both still have somewhat of a normalcy because we both still kind of have to go to work a little bit. Luckily, my office, I had to let go of one of my guys. But back to your question, so like, there's some normalcy there, but like, it's different because like I'm so used to going out on Friday nights, or I'm so used to going to a meeting, or I'm so used to like doing these things I didn't want to do. But in reality, like, you know, I've kind of embraced the whole recovery through Zoom thing because I was telling my buddy, I was telling David earlier, actually, like I think I went to 7 meetings on Zoom in 4 days last week, you know, because you're able to like you don't have to like go anywhere at 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night. You can just pop in the Zoom meeting and like you're there. And then once the speaker's done and you don't want to stay, you can pop out. Nobody's going to like, you know, look at you or give you a dirty look, you know?
Yeah.
But so that is very important. For me, the most important thing is talking to my sponsor at least once a week. And when I say, you know, I call him, leave a message, he calls me back, we talk for a good hour. You know, and like, so it's the mental health that you got to keep in check, because you got to realize not only addicts, but people in general, like people are going to come out of this thing like kind of nutty because, you know, people aren't going to want to leave their houses. You know, they're going to be scared for who knows how long of a time, but keeping your mental health in order. I talk to my sponsor at least once a week. I talk to, I have a therapist. I talk to, I've been FaceTiming her now, you know, every Thursday, you know, for an hour. So I do that. Talking to my girls for at least, you know, we talk, we still do the same things, but we've added new things into it because now she's working from home. So I try to give her that space that she needs and like, you know, or help her out with Liana. My daughter's name is Liana, and like give her that time. So like I come home in the afternoon around her busy time around 12, and I keep Liana entertained for a little bit because, you know, her mother is what was watching our daughter. She's, you know, 70 years old and she's now staying at home. But like, so the mental health is important. Staying busy, cleaning, like, you know, like all these things that we, you know, that we would do, you know, are very important. So, yeah, man, like you gotta keep yourself busy. So
Perfect. All right. So this isn't something you talked about, but, this is something I know from your story and just life in general. So about a year ago, we lost a very good friend of ours.
I was getting to that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll say his name. Our friend Brett OD'd, and he was your sponsee, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my question is, and like this is for anybody out there who's dealing with this or like just needs to hear it, like somebody's experience with it. How did you handle that grieving process, and how are you still handling that grieving process with losing not only a friend but a sponsee?
So, you know, I didn't want to get into it when you asked me that one question about like, you know, staying clean for your daughter, and I was talking about how like, you know, I had to put recovery in the back burner, but like, to be honest with you, like, you know, Brett, known him since high school, and the kid has been trying to get clean for many, many years. Sponsored him for many, you know, just trying to like, you know, I don't know, like I tried to sponsor him, and like he just kept using, relapsing, and I just know that like for me, the biggest thing was like trying to help the kid, man, and he wouldn't help himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Brett was found dead in a friend of mine's actually car, and his friend he was hanging with some girl, and she was found dead like in the car, and the mom came out and blew in the face, and like he came back for like a couple days, like just to see everybody. He met my daughter for the first time, and it was sad to say it was the last time. I just remember, like, you know, I look at those good times, but like getting back to your question, like how do I struggle with that, or how do I grieve from that? Like, you know, I will say that Brett was a man of many faces, and he impacted a lot of people in this program. A lot of people.
Yeah.
You know. So I will say that Brett was the kind of person that he left an impact on me, like a really big impact. It really affected me. I would say about for 5-6 months, I was really messed up in the head. I kind of pushed myself back in meetings. I wasn't really involved that much. I was, gambling a lot. I, still didn't have contact with my sponsor, and like shared about it some more. And just realized, like, in all honesty, David, he's in a better place,
Mm-hmm.
He just, and it's sad that like his memory, of him a year ago, because it was a year ago, and I was at his revealing of the stone, and they did that back on the Sunday in the fall. I don't know if you knew this, but his mom and dad invited me and Dara, and we brought Liana to the stone for the unveiling. And they usually in the Jewish tradition you wait a year, but they did it quick. They did like 6 months. And it was beautiful, and it was really thoughtful, and it was really nice that he did that. And I think that's when it kind of lifted, man. It was like I made peace with it. Being able to like commemorate him and see that like he's no longer suffering. But man, just staying spiritually in tune, man, and just talking about it, and don't shut those feelings out. Like, share about it, That's what does it for me, man. That's what does it for me.
Absolutely. I'm sorry I had to ask a hard question, but
no, it wasn't. I wanted to articulate the right words.
No, I hear you. I got you. All right, Eric, back to you with sports.
Well, I mean, I know you guys talked about, you're a Ravens fan, so that's a good start right there. You mentioned a little bit about kind of filling the void, and one of our favorite questions to ask is, how, and I think David alluded to it a little bit, and you just alluded to it as well, and you even alluded to it right there with that vaping. How are you? How has addiction manifested itself since you've entered recovery, and how have you gone about using the steps and your program to combat those manifestations?
Well, when I got clean and started coming to the rooms, like I said, when I celebrated my first year, I was 309 pounds, my heaviest. And so food was my very first addiction. When I got clean, like all I did was eat my feelings, and growing up as a kid, that was my first addiction, like one of my addictions as well. Like I was a heavy, short kid. It wasn't until high school I got a little taller and lost some weight, so like my very first second addiction, or trying to fill that void was like getting right with myself. And it took me until like I had my third year. Like currently right now I'm like, I lost like 100 pounds, but it took time to like spiritually and mentally do that. It took a long time to say, like, I want to better myself as a human being. And not only that, I got clean when I was 28. I'm 34 now, and like, I'm not getting any younger. And it's only gonna get harder as I get older. So like, what can I do to like better myself long term? So like, I did the diet and like, eating right, gym. And like, I struggle with that today, man. So it's like I said, like the kid, the girl, responsibilities, work. When do I have time to like go to a gym? Can't go to a gym now. But like I'm saying, like, and I make all these excuses why I can't do it. So there's that. Like early on, I will say, like, not everybody in the program, you can live clean, but there are people in the program that live clean that play dirty. And I did some dirty shit. I will be honest with that. I did some dirty shit early on in my recovery. Stealing. I had to make some amends to. Stealing and lying and like manipulating the system, like that I had to own up to, or like gambling on sports. Losing thousands of dollars. I had to own up to that shit and like, and know that I can do that, because for me, it's like one thing after another. If it's not that, it's this. If it's not this, it's not, so it's like, and I go hard with anything I do. So like, I'm grateful for the fact that like, I have a child that like takes up a lot of my time, and then there's work, which takes up a lot of my time, and understanding that like, I don't need to be getting over on something or getting over on anybody or the system to be happy. That's like another addiction that I have, is like getting over, and so I find that like for my mental health, or like fantasy football, I love fantasy football. I hope we can do it again this year, things like that. Like, it's just like,
it will just be a fantasy. It won't actually be football. It'll just be fantasy football. It'll be Madden.
Right.
Fantasy Madden.
Right. So yeah, I hope I answered your question. It's just like, what can you do to fill that void? Like, what can you do? Like for me, it's like, poker. I was playing once a week, every week at a gentleman's club in Baltimore City, and like, cigar lounge, and we play, and like now it's just like, can't do anything. That's not true though. There's plenty of things we can do as long as you look at the positives in the situation.
Yes.
There are things you can do, like do podcasts or speak at meetings on Zoom, or like spending time with your family and like actually like connecting with your family and like spending time with your loved ones. Like, I was driving home from work on Monday, and like, like I said, like I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, and in the 90s, you live in a development, you go outside, you play sports, you play with your friends outside. That's what you did. And like, I have never seen this in years, but like coming home, driving home in my neighborhood, all I see is people outside, kids outside, playing outside, like drawing on the chalk, like on the concrete, like things that we did when we were kids. So you gotta look at the positives, like, what I'm saying? Like, we never, we didn't have phones back in the 90s, so like, this is what we did,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you gotta look at the positives, and you gotta hope for the best, you hope for the best, you pray for the worst, I think I said that right. Hope for the best, hope for the best, pray for the worst, so, yeah, man, like, you just gotta, I don't know.
All right.
So yeah,
I think I got one more for you. So, I'm the anomaly of the three of us. My significant other is not in recovery. So I look to both of you for experience. I hope to never have, because hopefully she never goes down that path. No, she's great. She's great. She won't. So how do you balance a relationship with a fellow recovering addict?
Recovery is is hard, man. It's hard with another recovering addict. I thought that being in a relationship with somebody in recovery is easy, but then you got to realize that they have trauma. They have shit that you know about, but they never dealt with. You know, for me personally, like, you know, like she has her struggles. I have my struggles. But the way we were raised individually sets a tone on, you know, how we are as people.
Yeah, totally.
Communication is tough in any relationship. When you want to be that person that is there for them what they need, but they're not giving you, or they're not meeting your expectations. It's tough, but that's any relationship, you know.
Yeah.
And we're working through it, whether it be intimacy or, you know, what my needs and her needs, you know, because like we've been together for almost 5.5 years. And we met each other when she had, you know, 60 days clean. And I had a little over a year. And we had this common bond of we knew each other when we were in high school. You know, never knew each other like that, but we knew each other. So I will say, man, like it's tough. It's tough. Any relationship is tough, man. But if you want something to work, you just got to work at it. You know, everybody has their process of how they do things. For me, it's, you know, and I love the things about her. I love how she does these things with her job, and she loves her job so much. And I choose to, like, you know, I'm just like really into recovery, and like, you know, and she's not there right now. She might be, you know, falling off. I'm just saying, like, work takes up a lot of her time. It takes up a lot of her time, and right now all she has time for is work and her daughter. And like, and, you know, so, you know, but it's a struggle, man. We have our good days, we have our bad days, but most of the time the good days outweigh the bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Perfect. Make sure once you get off this podcast, you let her know that I love the shit out of her and I miss her.
I will.
All right. What you got, Aaron?
I will.
Is it about that time?
Sure, go ahead, David.
Is it?
Yeah. Yes.
Let's see what you do this time.
All right, everybody out there listening, all our amazing listeners, you know what time it is. It's time to go to the Twitter.
I just hate it so much. I really do. I don't know.
I know
why.
you do.
I fucking hate it.
Your
really
hatred,
do.
your hatred fuels my love for it.
I mean, really,
that's my little game show host moment. I get to be a cheeseball kind of asshole, and Eric doesn't like it.
I don't like it, but you know, I'm gonna let it be. Though
you placate me, Eric, and I appreciate that.
Though I could,
what I appreciate about you.
Just remember, David, I do have the power to remove it. So I want you to remember that.
Don't do that to me, Eric.
I want you to remember that.
Eric.
Just think about that. You know, I can just cut it.
Okay, I'll tone it down.
But this is actually from Instagram, not Twitter today.
Oh, damn it.
So this is from subby_girl, but spelled weird. So, or spelled like, you know, you would spell it in AIM world. But so the way this works is, Matt, you'll answer the question first, then David, then myself. How do you get your family and friends to trust you again?
Not through your words, through your actions. You got to show them through your actions that you've changed. I've said I was going to change so many times, and every single time, like, it wouldn't happen, you know? You know, I had to, you know, like, show them that become a different person, and they could see that through my actions. So
yeah. Perfect. I 100% just gonna mirror what Matt said. Like, you got to show through actions. But for me personally, I couldn't, and specifically with my oldest sister, who she didn't talk to me for several years before I got clean, and then it took me another 4 years of staying clean for her to even start talking to me again. So, for me personally, yes, actions, time, but ultimately I couldn't push the issue. Like, you have to, us as the people who fucked up, we have to take accountability and responsibility for that. And they have their process too. Your family, your friends, they have their process as well. We hurt them as well. They have trauma and all sorts of stuff that they're dealing with on their end on how we treated them, and we have to respect that on a very high level, especially like Matt's in this right now, like with our 8th and 9th steps. Like, sometimes when we go to make those amends, when they present themselves, we got to be ready for the worst case scenario. We got to be ready for our parents or our sisters or our brothers or our friends to really rip us a new asshole for what we did to them, because we earned it. And that's something that I really had to be prepared for when getting back into that relationship with my sister, that she had every right to be angry and resentful and hurt in a number of ways. And she had the right to say her peace of mind, and because I had earned it. And luckily it didn't go that way. But yeah, when trust, you gotta earn it. You gotta earn it in so many ways. That's how you get it back. It's not going to be given. You got to earn it.
I agree.
What about you, Eric? I'm just saying, if you did cut that, Eric, I think that would be a very big breach of our trust. So I'll just keep that in there.
Well, I mean, would it though? Because I straight up I told you I would do it. So I don't know how much, it's not like I'm going behind your back. I'm like, hey, I might do this,
Okay.
I mean, I guess, the simplest, like Matt said, and, like David said, and it's just reiterating the same thing. Saying you're sorry after a while, it doesn't really mean shit.
Yep.
I mean, and honestly, when you're talking about family and friends, financial amends are great, but, they can also be kind of empty. You can't buy trust. So it has to be through action, because I know when I talk about the 9th step, whenever I bring that up, a lot of people always bring up, I have to make amends to this person. I have to make amends to that person. They're always focused on the act of saying I'm sorry rather than the action that comes after it. And it's important to remember that trust isn't through words, it's through actions. And if we're just focused on getting an amends, isn't for us, it's for the other person to begin their healing process. So in order for them to start trusting us again, we need to start acting like the people that we're supposed to be in order to get that trust. So it's really just, it's like, you got, like, it's the whole fucking thing, man. You always got, it's all action. If you don't fucking do anything and you don't change, or if you just say a few words, but, you don't change, like you were kind of saying, like the people who go to meetings and speak spiritually but live dirty. I mean, It's all about action, you know. So I mean, that's pretty much it in the nutshell. You can't really go much further. But yeah, just if you want people to trust you again, show them why.
Yeah, and I want to expound on that just a little bit. I think with the actions, like, it has to be on your terms. Like, do your recovery. Don't try and make a whole dog and pony act when you get to your amends process or anything like that. Make it genuine. Like, be real. Like, let your recovery be about you getting your life back together. Not about not about trying to get those things back from your friends and family. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it has to be real for you, because once they see that it's real for you, then I think they'll come around.
Yeah, I will say, if I could say something real quick.
Yeah.
You know, my because I remember, like, I was going to meetings in, like, 2012, and, like, going to meetings, and my dad was like, when are you going to work the 4th step? When are you going to make these amends? Like, you know, and I'm like, telling him it takes time. But, like, and I'm going to all these meetings, David and Eric, but, like, you know, I'm, like, still using. And I'm, like, not living a life in recovery. Like, I'm trying to get there. So, like, he didn't understand me going to all these meetings. Like, yes, there was the social aspect. There was, like, the making connections, and I enjoyed that, and I thrived off of that when I was trying to get honest and get clean. But, like, it wasn't until I came back totally a different person, like, 180 different, like, did a 180, and, like, then I started going to the meetings. Then he started seeing what I was doing, and, like, going to these meetings, and they came to my my second year anniversary. My mom came to my first, my dad came to my second. You know, and, like, it wasn't until then my mom came to my third, and then they moved to Florida, but, like, ironically, but, like, you know, but it wasn't until they saw me, like, doing these things, like, then they understood, like, he is a different person.
Yeah.
There's always that fear of, like, well, what happens if you use it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, there's always that fear. We all every family member has that fear. But, like, you know, but it's like, oh, wow, he's changed. Just for today, he's a different human being, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that's about all the time we have. So we would like to thank our guest, Matt, for joining us this evening.
Woo! Yeah! Woo!
All right, Matt, I'm going to give you a quick second to talk directly to our listeners out there. Anybody who's struggling, needs to hear that message of hope. What do you have to say to them?
If you're struggling, just get honest. Talk to somebody about it. You know, if you don't know anybody in the program, or, like, if you don't know anybody that is in recovery, like, there's always a hotline number you can call to ask for help. You know, just try and, like, you know, talk to someone, talk to a friend. You know, if you don't know someone, I'm sure they know someone. You know, you never know, but you got to open your mouth. You got to share it. But yeah, man, that's what I did. I just opened my mouth, and somebody was listening. This guy answered my prayers. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Here at Podcast Recovery, we are aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us once again. Make sure to go on our Instagram, our Facebook, our YouTube, our Twitter. Check us out for any further information, podcastrecovery.com. But most importantly, everybody out there, stay safe and stay clean.